The Billionaire's Private Island. Billionaire Island Romance Series, Book 1. Written by Alessandra Bancroft. Read by Caitlin Elizabeth. Chapter 1. The Billionaire's Brilliant Idea. "Petra," Luke called, the commanding tone in his voice irritating his longtime assistant. "I expected those dossiers delivered to me an hour ago." "Right," Petra yelled with exasperation in her voice. "And I expected to have all the information I needed 4 hours ago." Petra sighed and rolled her eyes, her fingers massaging her temples as she shut her eyes and tried to focus. Working for Luke, the Bullet, Garmont, was certainly lucrative, but at moments like this she really wondered whether or not she'd be better off doing something a bit more pleasant, like living in a yurt in outer Mongolia, milking yaks. Then she'd remember that the pay was stellar. He could be quite charming and pleasant most of the time, and she actually kinda liked him. Once you got past his minor god complex and imperious nature, he was actually a pretty okay dude. Right now, Petra wished she had a faster internet connection. The irony was not lost on her. Luke had made his billions in cloud-based services and rapid application development, but none of that mattered on this remote Caribbean island they had just relocated to. Technicians were still working to install the brand-new fiber network, and they were currently having to make do with cellular data service until that work was complete. She was glad she wasn't going to be getting the data overage charges on her bill. Stellar pay or not, she wasn't stupid with her money. She checked the screen. Only 2 more files to go. "Why don't you take a swim?" she suggested. She slipped her USB drive into an open port on her laptop. "Cool your jets while I coax this dinosaur tech to do something magical." She was startled by the sound of his hand slapping the doorframe. "Just how much longer is this going to take?" Petra swiveled her chair to face him. He had the looks of a high-end model, chiseled features, muscular arms, broad shoulders tapering to a narrow waist, and leaning against the doorframe with that impatient scowl on his face gave him quite an imposing look. Since they'd arrived, he'd taken to wearing little more than tight swim trunks and flip-flops, and the tan lines from the casual work shirts he'd favored in California had disappeared. He had perfectly bronzed skin, wavy sandy hair, and piercing blue eyes. Many women looking at him would cross their legs in delicious anticipation if he were smiling instead of scowling. Any woman, but Petra, that is, who preferred her hard bodies in her own gender. "Too bad the boss man doesn't have a sister," she thought. "On the other hand, I don't even want to think about coping with 2 of them." She turned the laptop to face him and pointed to the excruciatingly slow creep of the bar indicating the slow download progress. "It's going to be a bit longer," she said, assuming, of course, that the connection holds. She slapped the laptop back around and continued copying files to the tiny portable drive. "Swim, soak, drown. I don't care which one you choose, as long as you leave me in peace to do my work." She dismissed him with a wave of the hand. Luke begrudgingly complied. He was strong, powerful, wealthy beyond anyone's wildest dreams, and his business sense was as keen as his sexual prowess, at least according to all the stories he loved to share with her. When he would enter a boardroom, even the hardcore corporate bullies would quake in their boots. They knew what happened when they messed with the best, as he had a terrible appetite for vengeance when crossed, and would go out of his way to make examples of those who wronged him. He was also his own man, and no one scolded him, ever. Except for Petra. Only Petra could treat him like an errant 10-year-old. She'd been with him from the start of his amazing financial run, and her loyalty and work ethic had earned her the right to take the occasional liberty. She was right more often than not, and he'd learned early on that her badass business savvy came with a whole boatload of sass. She had a hell of a rack as well, which he loved to stare at, but which he knew was
Sample complete. Ready to continue?